Good morning, everyone. As some of you know, we've been doing a series called Love in Action here at Unity. It's all about understanding how to cooperate with spiritual law to create greater abundance in our lives. I feel like we ought to pause for a minute here and become aware of what an enormous blessing it is for us to be living in the era of internet connectivity. This connectivity is amazing evidence that the benevolent power of the universe is present and active in the midst of this global crisis we're going through, bringing us together and overriding the superficial differences that have been consuming our attention. This pandemic is an urgent call to unity. Refusing to pull together now is foolhardy. Every single one of us has a part to play. Isn't it interesting to notice that governments, politicians, presidents, even doctors have little or no power over this pandemic? Only we, the people, have the power to stem its tide. Looks like democracy in action to me. Many people are suffering from this disease and the economic hardships it's causing. Our hearts go out to them, and we pray for them, and we offer them our help. This Sunday service is one of the things Crystal Coast Unity is doing to help. Thanks to all of you who have signed on this morning. As individuals, we are staying home, not just in the best interest of ourselves and our families, but as our responsibility in the enormous effort to stem the tide of this virus. Those who have been saying that we're overreacting as justification for business as usual are missing the gift this crisis has come to deliver. That gift is unity. At the very same time, it has brought opportunities to create greater abundance. We can step back from work a bit and spend quality time with family. We can reach out to old friends and estranged family members with a new appreciation for their value in our lives. We can see to our own deeper needs for self-reflection and spiritual nourishment. We can help someone less fortunate. We can step past our comfort zones, as some of us are doing this morning, to connect, pray, sing, and celebrate. We can pause to feel grateful for all the abundance that we normally take for granted. Personally, I've had a sense that this giant pause is something we have all really needed. It's no coincidence that the theme of today's message, chosen weeks ago, is Be Here Now. It's the 5th in our 7-week series. Last week, we talked about the law of circulation, an unchanging spiritual principle which states that whatever we give to life is what we get out of it. The law of circulation says that when we approach life from a higher consciousness, when we hold a bigger vision for ourselves, when we have the intention and the willingness to live as givers to life, our world expands. Connected to a power greater than ourselves, we begin to see through a broader lens and invite greater possibilities. Living with our minds and hearts open, we attract more abundance than ever before in all areas of our lives: health, relationships, finances, creative work, and spiritual well-being. Every one of us has an intuitive awareness that this is how our relationship with the universe works. It isn't a new or particularly shocking idea. What is life-changing is the realization that by cooperating fully with the law of circulation, obeying it, testing it, and eventually attaining an unshakable faith in it, we can become masters of it. It is possible for every one of us to consciously work with the law of circulation to create greater abundance for ourselves and the world. But, yeah, there's always a but, right? We may have to let go of some stuff, some external stuff and some internal stuff, in order to bring ourselves in alignment with the law. Last week, we worked with one particular aspect of the law of circulation, the part that says the universe abhors a vacuum. Whenever we center in faith and then willingly release stuff that no longer serves us, the universe moves in to fill that space with something even greater. Whenever and wherever we discard something useless or give away something we are no longer using, we create a vacuum. And that vacuum acts like a magnet that draws abundance toward us. Like any law, the law of circulation is simply theory until it's applied. So this past week, we were to test it and prove to ourselves that it works. I offered several suggestions on how to do this, and I'm imagining that many closets, basements, and garages have been cleared out, that some financial issue has been resolved, and that unexpected income accounts have been created. Perhaps you've written down some goal and begun moving in its direction. If you haven't started yet, it's not too late. You can begin by creating vacuums all over your life today. If you have begun, perhaps you're already noticing a new level of prosperity coming towards you, but you have to pay attention. Maybe it's coming in the form of financial increase or a new insight about your life or your business. Perhaps you've made a significant connection with someone. What I hope is that you are already experiencing greater peace of mind, lightness of spirit, and a sense of satisfaction now that you've unburdened yourself of unneeded and unused stuff. Now, the law of circulation works on all levels of existence. So far, we've worked on the material plane, but it also works on the emotional and spiritual planes. At whatever level we release something that is no longer serving us, we remove a blockage to the flow of abundance into our lives. This coming week, when it is perhaps more urgent than ever to open up channels of good, let's deepen our work by letting go of energies that block the flow of abundance, all of which come from the past. Some situation or circumstance that was over yesterday, or a week ago, or a month ago, or a year ago, or 20 and 40 years ago. Though the situation may have been resolved on the material plane, it may still have an energetic hold on us. Very often, negative or painful experiences, old or recent, leave behind residual energies that affect our lives and health today. Even when we cannot connect the negative energies we carry to a specific experience from the past, we deal with these residual emotions every day. They color our reality, impact our decision making, block intimacy in our relationships, and limit our choices and our prosperity. Because of this, energy from the past carries with it the potential to shape our future. In fact, our painful past will become a part of our future unless we intentionally release it. Certain attitudes and feelings indicate that we are in some way still tied up in yesterday. Regret about something we did or didn't do. Judgment of ourselves or other people. Guilt over our mistakes and perceived failures. Resentment toward people, places, conditions. fear of taking risks. These feelings are triggered by something in the present, but they are hooked to something in the past. Like all emotional energy, these feelings are creative. And so we keep reproducing the same type of experiences that caused them in the first place. A sobering idea, if you ask me. Have you ever asked yourself, why is this happening to me again? I thought I had healed that wound, but here I am, feeling the pain of it all over again. I thought I got rid of the problem when I got rid of that guy or girl, but lo and behold, I'm having the same issue, only worse, with a new girl or guy. It's like the problem went away for a while, changed its clothes, came back with a bunch of its friends. There is an intelligence within us that wants to be whole, free of every limiting and negative and painful feeling. The same intelligence that causes the body to heal of its physical ailments. Life doesn't give up on us. The issue returns over and over again in order to give us yet another shot at healing it. Maybe this time we'll be willing to feel it, embrace it, look it straight in the eye, and let it go. The thing it's so important to understand is that we will never be able to live in the flow of abundance or manifest a higher vision while holding on to those unhealed parts of ourselves. It simply cannot be done. Letting go of the past can be summed up in a single word: forgiveness. I'm sure, like me, you've heard a dozen definitions of forgiveness, but basically it's one thing: releasing the energies of the past that are inhibiting our ability to step fully into our own power, beauty, majesty, and abundance. Despite all that's been said and written about it, forgiveness seems to be something that most of us don't understand really well. When dealing with feelings of regret or guilt or resentment, we ask ourselves, what exactly does it mean to forgive, and how in the world do I do it? Well, one thing I've learned from experience is that forgiveness is not a mental exercise. Sometimes people confuse forgiveness with denial. Denying what happened, denying what they feel about what happened. We think that by pushing our hurt feelings into the background, we'll get over them. Well, the process of forgiveness is exactly the opposite of this. To forgive, we have to come into full awareness of the matter and feel our feelings about it. While we don't want to become stuck in an emotional bog, we have to feel the pain of what happened and own it before we can let it go. Other times, people think forgiveness is excusing the other person or condoning their actions. Well, here's the thing. Inappropriate and hurtful behavior is always inappropriate and hurtful behavior. What we can do is let go of its power over us. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation either. We may or may not choose to continue or rebuild the relationship. Of course, it can be wonderful when two people who have had problems between them can come back together at a higher level of relationship. But there are many situations where reconciliation is not possible or even prudent. The good news is that we don't need anyone else's participation in order to forgive. Forgiveness is simply saying, I choose to leave this behind me and move on. Now, because forgiveness is fundamentally an act of love, it must be unconditional. An unconditional free gift that we give, no strings attached. This means that we don't withhold our forgiveness until the other person acknowledges what he has done to hurt us, or until she's sorry for it, or apologizes, why, that other person may not even know that they have offended or harmed us. Or they might know and just not care. It doesn't matter. We can still forgive and let go. Because forgiveness is something we do for ourselves. We do it so we don't have to carry that pain and negativity around anymore. We don't want to relive that situation again. We don't want it to affect our lives or shape our tomorrows. We forgive out of an understanding that we deserve to be well, and because we want more than anything to be free. Imagine this scenario. You're driving down the street on a beautiful spring day with the car windows open, enjoying the breeze and feeling wonderful. Then suddenly, someone tosses a putrid, smelly bag of garbage into your car. And as soon as the shock passes, you're furious. Just makes sense that you would be. But soon, the anger gives way to a greater desire to stop that car as soon as possible and clean that garbage out. You shampoo the carpets and the upholstery, and you put in an air freshener. You do everything you can to restore that car to its original condition. Then why is it that when we're driving down the road of our lives and someone pitches garbage through the window, we roll that window up and lock the door? Why do we sit there inside the locked car and cry, "Oh my God, it stinks so bad in here. It's awful living with this smell. Please, God, help me to cope with it"? Don't you see? We're not punishing anyone else. It smells great out there. The stink is coming from in here. So forgiveness is choosing not to live with that energy any longer. Choosing to release the junk because we're worth it. Now let's think about what we need to forgive. We probably won't easily recall all the unforgiveness in our consciousness. We may not even be aware that it's there. But there is a divine intelligence within us that is always drawing us toward wholeness. It will bring these areas of unforgiveness into our awareness as soon as we are truly willing to heal them. The minute we establish in our hearts the sincere intention to forgive everyone for everything, we activate that divine wisdom within us. When the time is right, we will be shown what needs to be released, not through any concerted effort on our part, but by simply acknowledging it and surrendering to the power of love and wisdom. Now I'm guessing that some of you are like me. The hardest person for me to forgive is myself. Many of us hold on to such high expectations for ourselves that it's almost impossible to not let ourselves down, which leads to self-criticism and self-judgment. Well, friends, criticism and judgment toward ourselves is really no different than criticism or judgment of another person. All judgment arises from a heart that has grown hard over years of trying to manage our pain. Love is love. Loving myself is no less important than loving anyone else. If I can only love myself when I meet my own high expectations, that is not love at all. That's approval. So here's the bottom line. Self-love is not possible without forgiveness, and true abundance is not possible without self-love. David Owen Ritz, in The Keys to the Kingdom, says there are 4 stages to forgiveness. The first is discovery, becoming aware of the situation and my feelings about it. Willingness is key here. With willingness and intention, the memories that hold unhealed hurts will be revealed exactly at the right time in a way that I can handle them. The second stage, decision. Deciding that I no longer want this energy in my life, that it's time to let it go. This step is so pivotal. Too often we bring up a memory that's filled with hurts. We look at it from this direction and that direction, but stop short of making the decision to let it go. Instead, we return it to some shelf in the back of our minds where it sits there until something triggers it again and we come to another decision point. So why not make the decision to let it go now before it causes any more pain? The third stage is changing how we see it. The only way to release the negative energies from the past is to think differently about what has happened. In times of quiet reflection, we seek a higher perspective and a deeper understanding. As long as I see the other person only as the one who has caused me pain, I'm going to be mired in resentment. I can still remember when I first realized that my parents were just ordinary people with lots of unhealed baggage who were doing the best they could. Seems so obvious, doesn't it? But when I began to look out of my adult eyes instead of my 5-year-old eyes, I softened toward them. And I softened toward myself as well because, I too was an imperfect parent who made mistakes. The beautiful thing is that when we broaden our perspective, we automatically begin transitioning into the fourth stage, called moving on. Actually, moving on isn't a step we take at all. It's more like something we slide into once we have gone through the other 3 stages. Now, forgiveness is not an event that happens once or twice or 10 times. It is living with the habit of moment-to-moment release. Consider that living skillfully is much like the way a good athlete plays his game. No athlete will ever be great until he has learned to instantly let go of the previous play in order to focus all of his attention on the next one. Forgiveness is freedom. It is a sustained commitment to living in the present moment. In Gary Simmons' great book, The Eye of the Storm, he frames feelings such as defensiveness, resentment, anger, and guilt as perceiving ourselves to be in the presence of an enemy. Many people pushed back at this idea, but think about it. Would we have these reactions unless we felt threatened by some situation or person? In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, Jesus tells us how to forgive. But when I thought more deeply about it, I realized he was really laying out a formula for abundant living. Love your enemy. Love means to accept, embrace, and value rather than push things away and fight against them. To love a person who has harmed me is to see him or her as a mirror shining light on that place in me that is not connected to my wholeness or worth. Because isn't it true that if we really knew our goodness and could feel our oneness with God, we would not be threatened by anything anyone else does? Owning these disconnected places is the essential first step to healing. Bless your enemy, Jesus said. To bless means to endow upon a situation or person the capacity for good. It's looking for the gift beneath the pain. When we bless, we dismantle the idea that anything or anyone can keep us from our good. Third, do the right thing. Doing the right thing means taking authentic action from the heart rather than being defensive, angry, or resentful. It means letting go of the need to be right. Oh boy. Letting go of the need to be right. I don't know about you, but many of my regrets come as much from how I handled a situation as from the situation itself. By doing the right thing and responding from the heart, I reduce the possibility of making the situation worse, and I open the door to peace. And finally, pray for those who have harmed you. While this step may seem hard to imagine, it's magical. When we pray for the highest and best for all concerned, we set ourselves and everyone else free. We interrupt the energy of resentment, competition, and struggle. We open the spigot and allow the healing presence of God to do its miraculous work, and abundance flows. So there you have it. Another of those miracle formulas from the New Testament. Love your enemy. Bless those who persecute you. Do the right thing. Pray for those who have harmed you. Seems clear enough, but am I willing? Are you? God bless you all.